Hey everybody, welcome to Who Gives a Shit, the show where we ask the most important question, which is
Who gives
a shit? Yeah, who gives a shit? So, today we got some fun ones, CJ. You want to go first or shall I?
I'll go first. This is a political issue, and this has to do
politics.
with the it has to do with the storming of the Capitol, but it is not. It is not the event itself, but rather someone involved in the event. Now, this guy was Donald Trump's campaign manager at one point. Roger Stone, if you don't know by now who it is. And we are going to play our favorite game where we guess who gives a shit. Can you guess who gives a shit about this story?
Oh, God. I'm going to guess MSNBC.
It is leftist, but it's actually the New York Times. And the title is 6 members of far-right anti-government group, the Oath Keepers, seen protecting Roger Stone at Capitol riot. Now,
I've seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you might be asking, why is this bad? Adam, why do you think this is bad to them?
Oh God, I'm gonna guess that they're gonna say it's something along the lines of like it furthers white supremacy and further shows the radical tendencies inside our government and their support for it. Is it something along that?
So yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the radical.
Boom! Fuck yeah!
This is a Roger Stone hit piece, and they're presenting him as a radical, almost like a Benedict Arnold figure. And it's just because he hired 6 security guards to go to the Capitol riot, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, with them. And there is also a weird element to this article that I want to present to you guys. So this is very much like the Nick Sandmann article, where the core of the article is doxing the guys that are protecting Roger Stone. And the only difference here is you can't tell who they are because they have COVID mask on. So this is so fucking confusing to me.
But they doxed him though. The New York Times doxed him.
Their name, they're not in there, but it has their ages, and then it also has the town that they're from. But this is weird to me because it's presented as a look at these bad guys article, but you can't even see the bad guy doing the evil James Bond smile because they have a mask on. So none of this makes sense to me. And at the core, to a normal human being, the story is just Roger Stone paid some guys a couple $1,000 to protect him for a day.
Yeah, I gave him a cheesy title. That's Roger Stone for you, man. The dude's been a political operative for a long time. He's got a tattoo of Richard Nixon on him, man. This dude's a cartoonish character. Like, it's way the fuck out there. I could see why people hate Roger Stone and why they're going to want to write about him. But why are you going to go after his bodyguards? These people are just trying to get a damn job.
Right, yeah. And it's so minute. And I thought it was weird that it was meant to be written as, it was a hit piece for Roger. But to me, anyway, when I was reading it, it seemed to focus more on the bodyguards. And I was just like, why? You hate Roger Stone with all your fiber. And I guess I can understand that. I mean, I don't care about the guy. But if
Like,
you
look at
hate
this
him
dude.
and you want to go after him, that's fine. But what does his bodyguard have to do with it? What's next? Are you going to fire the bellhop that opened the door for him on his way out? Like, what?
I
Where
don't
did
know.
this end?
I don't know what their motivation is necessarily. Like, are they trying to present this as some sort of creepy cabal? Are they trying to dissuade people from working with Roger Stone? Like, what is the... Yeah, who does give a shit? This is such a fucking nothing story. Like,
Well,
Roger Stone is, like, not really operating in politics anymore. His people, like, the Republican Party never really liked Roger Stone that much to begin with because of this dude's radical tactics. And he's...
right, yeah, he
Like
would be.
after he got locked up, he's kind of persona non grata. I mean, Trump had to pardon him, or he either pardoned him or he commuted his sentence. I forget which one.
I believe it was commuted, so he got a couple years knocked off.
Yeah, and it was all over witness intimidation and like evidence tampering, something like that. I mean, people have been wanting to get Roger Stone for a long time, a long, long time. This is all shit that's really before my time, and only what he hit my radar is whenever there was a Netflix special called "Get Me Roger Stone," and it was about the Trump campaign and some of the other things that Roger Stone does. That's how I even really learned about this guy. So this is like some old beef that I'm sure goes way the hell back. Maybe that's why the Times went after him.
Yeah, and this guy, I think what it is that this guy, whether you like him or not, is a visionary because he was pushing Donald Trump to run for president in 2000, and that was back when Donald Trump was a Democrat. Roger Stone may be a Republican now because it works out for him, but at the end of the day, he doesn't care what party he's on. He just sees Donald Trump as the reality real estate guy. And he's like, oh, America is going to love that. You're going to be president one day. And a big part of that Netflix show is he spent over half the movie convincing Donald Trump to run for president. And this starts in 89. And you really feel like he almost nagged him into running for president by the time he got to 2016.
I could see the pitch too, because Roger Stone and Donald Trump really have a lot in common. There's one thing that I believe they do well. It's reality TV. Roger Stone just treated politics like reality TV because essentially it is. And Donald Trump was a reality TV star, so he treated it like reality TV, and he was really good at it, and people liked him for it. It's really easy to like Donald Trump over all the other stiffy Republicans that are just so fucking square cut and boring. Like it's so fake, and everybody sees it that way. So his rhetoric on draining the swamp and things like that really struck a chord. I mean, really, there was Roger Stone. It was Roger Stone and Steve Bannon that really had the vision to really get that campaign off the ground. So, yeah, I could see why the Times just fucking hates this guy. They'll probably never let it go. They're going to be reporting on this dude till the fucking end of times. If he even spills his coffee on himself, they're going to fucking report about how much of a chump he is or something.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the next headline you see out of the Times is Roger Stone lets a dog shit in neighbor's backyard.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, you want to move on to one of the articles that I brought in?
Yeah, let's do it, buddy.
All right, so this one's a fun one. So I would ask you who gives a shit, but the literal answer is everybody. Like, anyone that talks about news has talked about this. But I'm like, really broad stuff. So I'm talking about the Gina Carano incident. But really who I want to talk about is a particular article that was written by GameSpot. All right? GameSpot. Games journalist writing about Gina Carano, an actress on The Mandalorian who got fired over tweets that she was making. And man, as soon as you see that blue check mark and you talk about games journalists, you know this has got to be good. Ooh, so, all right. First off, this article is written like dog shit. So the title of the article is Gina Carano was fired not for being a bad employee, Sorry, Gina Carano was fired for being a bad employee, not her politics, by Mason Downey. So this whole article was just complete crap. Like a lot of it was completely misguiding stuff, trying to sit there and take a miss. Didn't want to talk directly about what was said, but merely like making matters of fact statements, going like, "Oh, Gina Carano didn't take the mask mandate seriously and doesn't care about people dying in the pandemic. Gina Carano doesn't care, like, or is anti-Semitic because they compared being a Republican in America to being a Jew in the Holocaust." And although that is kind of true, it has a little bit of truthiness to it. This express sentiment was basically saying, "Don't hate your neighbors." That's really what she was saying. Just don't hate your neighbors over politics. And that's something that I think everybody should take into account. Now, it was said crassly, and we are talking about Disney here. And Disney has zero fucks when it comes to firing somebody over just saying something uncouth. They've basically had their morality police since forever. Since I can remember,
not to off-rail you, but my favorite moment of Disney firing and altering shit to please the audience is when the new Star Wars came out. I think it's called the new Jedi or something. The one with the new Darth Vader, the emo looking one. There's a black stormtrooper on the poster of this one.
Yep, Finn.
Yeah, Finn. And in China, that guy is completely removed from the poster.
Well,
and I don't know if you know why it is.
But they made him really teeny tiny in the background.
Oh, I thought he was removed. I couldn't even tell he was in it.
Now, where he was in the poster was like a third of the poster. They replaced it with a bunch of starships, and they shrunk him by like a sixth. Like, he is so tiny, like next to that stuff. And that's basically the Chinese media police saying, no, we don't really want this guy shown so prominently. And Disney's never really been able to live that down, because they'll constantly blast out these tweets saying, "Oh, we care about the importance of diversity in the media to show that people matter," and then people immediately respond with a picture of those two posters right next to each other, be like, whatever, Disney. Remember that time you filmed all that stuff right next to the concentration camps in China? Remember when you did that?
Yeah, and then what I like about that one is it's not just your typical, like, quote, alt-right guy that would complain about diversity in movies. It's a lot of black Twitter going, well, if you like black people so much, why did you minimize the main black character in the movie? Like, you can hardly see that he's there. Surely, if you're fans of black people, you wouldn't be hiding your main black character. But anyway, that's the one I think of when I hear Disney.
Yeah, well, the people at the helm in Disney and the Star Wars things are some of the worst people. Basically, it's a sycophant of George Lucas that managed to wedge her way into leading the whole Star Wars helm and did not understand the property at all, and has botched it ever since. Like, everything that she was involved with has been ass. And that's why they needed to bring in all the Marvel people, then the MCU, to save the series. If Mandalorian didn't exist, Star Wars would be just dead. It'd be game over. Nobody would care about it anymore. They had their shot and they blew it. And the Mandalorian was good enough that it revived the franchise. And I don't know why Kathleen Kennedy is still hanging around. They should have shit-canned her ass a long time ago. She's ruining the franchise.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know how expensive cranes are, but it can be very expensive to transfer a whale from one place to another. So that might be the reason why she's still around. But
yeah,
you said that this brought back Star Wars, and I definitely see that, because like in stores you see the Baby Yoda, and kids love that Baby Yoda thing. So it basically turned Star Wars into the not exactly the same way as it was, but close to the toy cash cow that it was in the 70s.
Made it relevant. Now, the toy thing is another funny angle because Disney decided they were going to shit can the Gina Carano toys. They yanked it off the shelves.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they overnight they became collectible. The prices on these things just skyrocketed. Even the shittiest action figure was going for like $50 last time I checked, and some of the more premium figures are going for almost $200. And they're probably only going to increase because there's just not that many of them. The supply just isn't there, and it's going to be a little mainstay. Oh yeah, remember this chick, this character that everybody liked? And then they just shit canned it because she was talking shit on Twitter. Remember that? Like it'll be a little memory of it. These and the article that was written about this was just such ass. I mean, it was written so awfully. Oh, I'm about to read you one sentence, mind you. This is one sentence. There's 4 commas in this fucking sentence. Any English teacher would be so pissed at this shit. Okay. These posts were just the latest in a long line of public aggressions, both micro and macro, from Carano, who had a long history of making deeply inappropriate and downright offensive posts against vulnerable minorities and then immediately falling into defensive self-victimization. Does that sound like one sentence?
Spooky. Vulnerable comments towards minorities. Ow.
No, there's an equally long sentence right after this. This person had to put a fucking colon to link the sentences together. What kind of fucking shit is this? And also, when in that quote where they had a strong female hero, they put strong female hero in quotes. There is no doubt that Gina Carano is seen as a strong female hero because this is one of the few female heroes that you have that beats someone's ass that you can look at her and go, yeah, I can see her beating somebody's ass.
Like, no, I didn't watch this, right? But she striked me, from what I heard about it from people that did, she striked me as like a Sigourney Weaver type, where it didn't matter that she was a woman, she still kicked ass. Which the real women characters that are good, they hardly even mention that she's a woman.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing. There's always this victimization complex where they act like nobody wants to see strong female characters because of sexism, and that's such a played out argument. Really, no one wants to see a shitty movie. That's what it boils down to. And when people focus about having diversity and that's their main goal in writing a story, they got their priorities messed up. You gotta write a good story first and figure out a way to put diversity in it if you care about that, and not make it heavy-handed and hacky. Otherwise, people will see that there's a forced diversity and immediately push back against it. Like, that's just not the way to do it. And this Mason Downey character is a self-described trans mask boy who loves comics, Guro, dolls, and snakes. Do you know what Guro is, Cripple Jesus?
You briefly explained it before the recording, but I'm still not sure what it is.
Okay, so Guro is erotic anime of gore.
Well, I'm already tuned out by those 3 words. Now, is this a popular thing? Do people like this?
I was somewhat aware of it. I've seen it around, but I didn't know the exact label of it until I actually saw it brought up. And it's weird. I'm gonna put it like that. It's weird. It's like, I'm like, I mean, this ain't illegal, but the way that everything's being depicted and stuff like that, it's a lot of like erotic, violent acts that have gore in it. It's kind of in the same vein as Lolly, only more violence instead of the other way. Like, it's genuinely uncomfortable looking at this stuff. And
so it would be like anime rape porn, essentially. That kind of shit.
Some of it looks consensual, some of it doesn't. I don't know this person's tastes exactly. They felt comfortable enough to put it in their Twitter bio, it's so bizarre. And if you want to see what this person tweets, it's an opt-in thing. They have to let you like approve you to see the tweets.
Oh,
like, really
that's
in the
ivory
lock. Tower.
Yeah. So, Adam, I know you're not a social media guy, but the first sign to me of an insane person is when they have that lock above their account name. It's the lock symbol. And what that means is what Adam just said. They have to look at your account and approve you.
Yeah, anyone that's not willing to... Yeah, anyone that's not going to blast it out there in public and as scared of people looking at what they're saying, scared of criticism. I mean, God, you lose so many points in my book. If you can't say something and then stand behind it, you're basically worthless.
Well, to me, that's a good point, what you said. But to me, the whole lock thing, it plays into their narcissism. Because they think that it's a privilege for you to follow them. That's what that whole thing is based on. Like, oh, you peasants have a different opinion than I do. High and mighty GameStop journalists. You must be approved. It's a very secret circle that follows me. And at the end of the day, he's writing articles that really no one but insane people care about.
Yeah, basically, this is just straight up rage bait. And it makes me feel bad that I have to actually give them a view and a click to even look at this stuff. It makes me feel like I'm part of the problem too, even talking about it. But shit, sometimes I feel that light is the best disinfectant. Well, I'm getting tired of talking about these fucking people. It's baffling me. It hurts my mind in a particular way. So let me give you my armchair psychology take on this Mason Downey character and why they give a shit. And that's that Gina Carano is looked at as a strong female hero and regarded as masculine, more masculine than Mason, which is a classic jealousy take, and a hater. Mason's a hater. Just sees that someone else has what they don't have and want and can't fucking stand it.
So, could it possibly be too, because this person is trans, that they don't like to see female empowerment from like actual females?
I didn't really get that from it necessarily. I think it's more the like the political take that they're like, they're audacious enough to be in a public square and just say these things. Can you believe this? Like, it's the outrage that, like, I don't know. I really don't. It's baffling to me that a games journalist is writing about this. Like, who gives a shit?
I certainly don't, but I guess a select few of games journalists do.
Yeah, and the people that are willing to fall for the rage bait. Like, that's really going to be the death knell, is when all the actual gamers stop looking at games journalism because they suddenly realize that it isn't either games journalism or journalism or anything to do with games. Like, there's nothing there. It's fucking hollow and empty. And it's one of those old legacy hold-ons that also needs to die.
Now, my last who gives a shit also has to do with Hollywood. But this is a special case because this is what I like to call a grave robber story. Now, a grave robber story is when a member of the media will take something that happened 10, 20 years ago and they will dig it up again. Now, this dirt that they digged up on, a very popular action star in the 90s. He was in a little movie called Patriot and Braveheart. Everybody knows who this is. Story, there's a lot of sources for this. And I didn't do a who gives a shit for this one because it was basically a Twitter moment. There was all kinds of journalist outlets that were bringing this up again. And what it was is a party in 1994 at Mel Gibson's house. And it's told by Winona Ryder. It's told from her perspective. and she was going to the party with a gay friend of hers. And they go to the party, enter the door, and Mel shakes this said gay person's hand, and being the jokester that he is, he said afterwards, "Am I gonna get AIDS?" Now, I think this is hilarious. This is meant to be like oh, look at how evil Mel Gibson is, but really, it just makes him look like a Chad. And allegedly, later in the night, Mel loves his Jameson, and he had been having a couple, one too many drinks, and allegedly called Winona Ryder a certain Jewish slur, which brings me to another game that we play on the show. Guess the racial slur.
Does it rhyme with kite?
No, it has to do with the kitchen appliance.
Oh, wow. Shit, you got me, CJ. I'm fucking brain farting so hard right now. Damn it. I got put on the spot and freaked out. Alright, what is it?
Mel Gibson allegedly called Winona Ryder an oven dodger.
Okay, yeah, more Chad moves here. Like,
yeah, no, we are the normal.
Look, there is a way to deliver that in good fun. There really is.
Right, yeah, that's hilarious. And the people that give a shit, you might be wondering why they dug up this incident from 1993. And that's because Mel Gibson is promoting a movie. It came out the tail end of 2020, and this movie was called Fat Man, and it was about some kind of hitman of some sort. I actually never saw the movie, but I did see the trailer, and I gotta be honest, it looks pretty good. I might check it out after reading the story. I might check it out.
Mel Gibson's been in some good roles.
This is another failed attempt to cancel Mel Gibson. Now, you probably remember the first one, which was the series of voicemails that he left the chick in 2008. I think it was like 48 voicemails in 24 hours. And he was mad because this chick basically hoed him out of a bunch of money because she wanted to be a recording artist. But the only problem was she wasn't actually good at singing. So what she did was fuck Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson bought her a bunch of studio time. And
then whenever things started going tits up, just put the blast out there.
Right, yeah. And this makes Mel very angry, and he starts talking about all the money he wasted on her. And he, again, drops a hilarious gem. I seriously think that Mel Gibson might be one of the most underrated comedians of all time. He called this woman an ordinary cunt.
I mean, Mel Gibson he has said some funny stuff, like that, the state trooper incident.
Oh, yeah,
that shit was too
Jews
funny.
World War, yeah, I remember that too.
He called her sugar tits and called her a Jew lover and ended up that she was married to a Jew. How did he know? He knows, man. This dude, he's on top of this shit.
But at the end, I showed this one because this one, the media doesn't win this one this time. Mel is still the winner. And the reason for that is he makes good movies. And he might believe some crazy stuff about the Jews. Might not hold black people to a high regard. Sure, that might all be true. But at the end of the day, all that matters is good movies.
Yeah. It's funny you bring this in because I've been iced in. Can't really do much. Been without power most of the time, but we cranked on the generator to heat up, and we knew we had about 3 hours, so we sat down and watched a movie. We watched The Professor and the Madman, which has Mel Gibson in it. It's about the Oxford Dictionary. He did a fantastic job in that movie. Like he did a really good job. Really sold this thing about like caring for someone that's insane and the decency within humanity and wanting to treat each other fairly and to understand one another. Like that was a great movie, and it just happens to have Mel Gibson in it. He also was involved with like Apocalyptica. That was great, and I mean he's just been in a bunch of like iconic roles, but that's the thing. He's got a problem with Jews. And that, in Hollywood, man, that puts a big target on you. I don't appreciate that very much. I think the rules in Hollywood are you can't go against Jews and you can't go against gays. Otherwise, you're going to get canceled so freaking fast.
Well, Mel Gibson has the highest grossing movie of all time still, by the name of Passion of the Christ. And that's what I believe protects
the highest
from all this.
Actually, didn't Deadpool beat out Passion of the Christ for highest grossing rated R movie of all time?
I thought it did in America, but I still think worldwide, I still think Passion of the Christ wins.
And man, Mel Gibson was so good. He was so good at making a couple episodes of South Park hilariously funny.
Oh yeah,
the one where Cartman like looks at the Passion of the Christ. He's like, I know what the message of this movie is, Mel, and I support you.
The reason why Mel is so rich from this movie is because no real executive wanted to fund this movie. So what Mel did is he started his own company and funded it himself. And he made like something crazy, like 15 times back what he put into it. And most of that money went to him because he didn't have to deal with the studio.
That's got to get in their craw. That's really got to get in their craw.
Yeah, he paid his people directly, and then the rest of the money went to him, pretty much. So Mel, if he really wanted, he would never have to make a movie again. I mean, The Patriot and Braveheart are also huge types of movies where if you never acted again, you would still be good for life.
Yeah,
but,
that's what got him the cash. Shit, he was in Road Warrior. I mean, that's what really got him on the map. But yeah, Braveheart's a great movie. I need to go back and watch that again.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. But what I really
last time I watched it on 2 VHS tapes. It's been that long.
You know, I think they put a lot of commercials, and I think it's like next to Saving Private Ryan, because I think Saving Private Ryan, when you watch it on TV, it has the most commercials in terms of minutes. But I believe Braveheart is second to that. But anyway, what I like about Mel in particular is that he will not quit. He's going to do what he loves to do. And he's basically a giant middle finger to the whole media establishment and the cancel culture.
Yeah, whenever someone really thinks they're in their ivory tower and can't be touched and gets poked just a little bit, just enough to make them feel uncomfortable, even if it's from someone I really don't necessarily agree with, I can get behind making those types of people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think Mel is great, and he'd even directed a film. I don't know if you saw the.
He directed a couple. I know Apocalyptica was one, but there's another one that he directed that was supposed to be pretty good. I'm blanking on this.
I can tell you the story because I've seen it a bunch of times, but I don't know the name. And it's based on a guy that, a World War II soldier, and he was a medic, and he got the Purple Heart because he was the only guy. Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. He got the Purple Heart because he was the only guy at the time that did not shoot anybody when he was in the battlefield.
He got the Medal of Honor, saved a lot of people. He saved a lot of people's lives. Yeah, that was a good movie too. Yeah, I know exactly the movie you're talking about. That's one of those ones that like really lets you have a little bit more faith in humanity whenever you watch it. That there's people that won't fight someone else, will only save people, put themselves in harm's way, and do it in the bravest way possible. I mean, the story of Dobbs, the guy that it's based on, is amazing. I couldn't do it. I don't know if I've ever met anybody that could do something like that. Like, truly an extraordinary man. Someone that really should be looked up to.
They really do a good job of showing how he was an outcast at the time, too. Because in the gun drills, the target practice, right? They would make him run extra laps because he would get all shaky when he would hold the gun and all that anxiety about anything to do with the weapon. He would get immediate anxiety. And they really, everybody in his platoon and his whole company really hated him at the time.
Yeah. And they won him over. In the movie, at the end of it, they interviewed the guy that was in command over him. And this was an older recording because everybody it had been so long. But this guy broke into tears and said, "I had never misjudged a man so bad in my life." It's remarkable. And it was Mel Gibson that brought that story out. It was a story that I was unfamiliar with until Mel Gibson brought it out in Hacksaw Ridge. Even though Andrew Garfield's goofy ass is in that movie too, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, that is what I have today.
All right. Oh, this last one might get you a little bit. So my last one, man. This is the title of the article. So see if you can guess who gives a shit. This is The Gorilla Glue Saga, Laid Edges, and the Trauma of Black Beauty Standards. Who do you think wrote that?
Now this sounds like a business article. So I'm going to guess, is it Bloomberg?
Nope. MSNBC or NBC 10 Boston. So it's an NBC article.
What is
from
this?
Boston.
Is Gorilla Glue a product? Because that's what I'm thinking it is.
Yeah, Gorilla Glue is badass, man. This stuff's sweet. Use it to fill in gaps. It's a hell of a glue. So there's this chick, Tessa Brown. All right. So she ran out of her hair product. It was called Got to Be Glue. That was her hair gel that she used. But she ran out of this stuff. And so instead she got some spray Gorilla Glue and spray Gorilla Glued her hair. And then made a post saying that her hair has been that way for a week. And it went viral. Right now it has 25 million views.
I would say that's a lot of views, yeah.
That's a lot of views. So, and then a bunch of people started running with this story. And there's a bunch of different takes on it, but this one really stood out because it was one of the most nonsensical articles I've ever seen. It jumps around all over the place, leaves so much stuff unsaid, really tries to mislead the reader to come to certain conclusions. Like, it's nuts. It's really nuts. So, like, here's a good quote from the article. Never being able to come close enough to the Eurocentric ideals of beauty, including white skin, straight hair, and slim features, black aesthetics are constantly undervalued. Do you agree with that statement, CJ?
Now, as a man who very much values the Jungle Bunny aesthetic, I would have to respectfully disagree with that statement.
So they talk about the Eurocentric ideals of beauty and like just acting like wholesale that this is what people believe. Times have changed on what people believe is beautiful. The fat ass is in. That
right,
is not
I was
a white
about
girl
to say, a stripper with a nice ass and some afro puffs. That to me is a beauty standard.
Yeah, and And so the Eurocentric beauty ideals, this is something that I remember from my Women in Society class, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Because there's always been a bunch of wishy-washy arguments about it, and it's funny because of the infighting that happened during the 60s and 70s during third wave feminism and people arguing about this shit. People were going at each other internally about the Eurocentric beauty ideals. And it is really great, actually, to see these people argue so much about this. And I mean, so in this article, they reference a study that was the natural hair bias from a Michigan State University, study by Christy Zoe Koval. And the study is based on discrimination against hairstyles like braids, afros, twists, dreadlocks, and cornrows. And they're basically saying that people that have those hairstyles are looked at less professionally and less likely to get hired by a job. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, dreadlocks? Really? Like that? Like you were wondering why having dreadlocks might make you look less professional.
Well, and
basically this,
too, the argument is that it makes you less hireable. Almost every lineman in the NFL, every corner has dreadlocks, and they're making $millions a year, so I don't really get that point either.
Well, they're talking about it in reference to women, but they loop the dreadlock part in there. And so, someone that has braids, are they less likely to get hired? Oh, no, that's up in the air. Afros, that's kind of up in the air. Cornrows, that's kind of up in the air. Dreadlocks, yes, I can see why people would have a problem with dreadlocks, strictly because of the hygiene aspect involved with it. Any white chick that I ever messed around with that had dreadlocks was disgusting, man. I would always have to try to be like, oh yeah, it'll be fun, we should shower together first before we bang it out. There's a reason for that, because man, that snatch be smelling like patchouli oil. You just got to deal with that.
Oh yeah, and I would add, this might just be me, but I would add cornrows to that list, because cornrows to me is it's, especially when it's on a white woman, it's the epitome of trash. It is the hairstyle of I'm trashy and I don't care. That's what cornrows are to me.
Now they did
that
have,
might be racist or whatever, but I think it looks just as stupid on white women.
Now, the cornrows thing was included in the study, but this article takes a weird shift, man. All of a sudden, they stop really talking about Tessa Brown, who's from Louisiana, and they're not talking about the Michigan State University study. They suddenly take some chick's perspective named Alana Nichols, and who is a self-described attorney turned physician, and then they get a bunch of takes from her, and this chick's from Alabama, mind you, so you got a place from Boston talking to a chick from Alabama about a chick from Louisiana referencing a study from Michigan. This thing is all over the frickin' place. And then they start talking about the Crown Act. And the Crown Act, they're like, oh yes, this is creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. And I looked at that and I'm like, there's no H at the end of Crown. What? Oh, God. All right, so already I'm annoyed. And they said in the article that it passed the House in September of 2020. And I was like, oh, shit. Well, I better go look up this article. And come find out, this is... Okay, so it's SB 188. And this is a California law. Why the hell did they talk about a California law referencing a chick that's in Louisiana while they're in Boston? I'm like, where the fuck are you guys going with this shit? None of this makes any fucking sense. The way that it bounced around was really frustrating. And I'd say that the take about Eurocentric standards of beauty has been on the decline for a long time, because mainly a lot of what people find aesthetically pleasing has been democratized because of the internet and Instagram and things of that nature. People will just look at what they want to look at. That's why the Kardashians are so popular, because of that fat ass.
Not even that, not even just the internet. I remember looking at Foxy Brown, and that was the first time I was ever enamored. And there's nothing Eurocentric about that bitch, I can tell you.
Yeah, there's the way they talked about her is just so strange. Like here's another quote from the article. With her got-to-be glue gel bottle empty, there was little she could do if she planned to leave her home ready to face the stereotypes and discrimination she would already encounter because of the color of her skin. So in Brown's mind, she did what she had to do. That is some of the most apologist shit I've ever seen. Like, that's the take you're going to take? How about this? She's got a product called Got To Be Glue, ran out, and thought, well, if this stuff has got to be glue, why not just use glue? Like, that tracks. I don't understand that. Like, when someone does something like that, I am really rapid to point the stupidity finger and be like, oh, well, I'm a victim. Nah, you're just dumb. Like, this is something that you manufactured yourself. You did this. You didn't think to Google that shit? Like, you should have known that this was going to end in fucking tragedy. Messed your hair up in the process.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, like, it's a test. If you're offended by this, it means you have a 2-digit IQ, essentially.
Yeah, something like that. So in your feminism class, CJ, did you get to talking about hairstyles? Did they ever talk about that?
We did not. But something interesting, we talk a lot about how women dress, and they shame women dressing and dress, like actual women, biological women, and like dressing in heels. I mean, this one bitch in particular, I remember her name, Kate McKinnon. She said that a woman wearing high heels in a professional business setting is like a societal rape by the man. That's the phrasing she used. Oh, societal rape by the man to oppress them. But on the other hand, if you're Bruce Jenner and you want to wear stilettos, that's empowering somehow. And I basically got kicked out of the first. So this whole feud started because I said in an assignment, we were talking about the differences between male and female, and we were supposed to argue if that was important or not to differentiate. And I used the Phelan Fox case. If you don't know who that is,
oh, I'm familiar.
That's a transgender fighter who started out as a guy and had a fucking terrible record. 1-5 win and loss record. Terrible. So what this guy did was he kept his dong, wore a dress in order to get away with legally beating women. And I argued that this was basically domestic violence. You can't tell me that what Chris Brown did to Rihanna is wrong, and in the same sentence say this isn't wrong. And I got banned from, I got deleted from that entire conversation because it offended some unnamed person who I can't prove, but I'm pretty sure at this point was the teacher, because she had already used this, multiple people are offended by what you said. And before I was kicked out of this class, we had a discussion board, and the women weren't always agreeing with me, right? But they were generally pretty respectful with how they carried themselves. And the only woman that I saw being bitter was the teacher. And we don't have a transgender in that class. There's a gay guy in there, but he's not transgender. So who would that offend? There's not even a transgender in the class.
Even if they were offended, so what? This is college. There's supposed to be a free exchange of ideas, and people are going to say things that offend you. And you can, at that point, what you should do is reevaluate your own opinions about the matter and try to empathize with the other person and see where they're coming from, and then evaluate again and make sure that you're still steadfast on what you believe in, and then move on. If you expect everyone just to agree with you wholesale, man, life is going to be hard. It's going to be real hard.
And I guess the lesson of that story, it amazed me, really. I never thought I would have been kicked out of a feminist theory class for sticking up for female athletes, but the world never seems to stop surprising me nowadays.
I didn't even piece that together. That is so damn funny. In my Women in Society class, my professor had the stance that men and women were biologically the same except for the sex organs. And this is one of the ones when she laid that out. I had like, it was like the meme. I did that little blink thing. I'm like, you're serious? Like, really? It's like, I came from a medical background before I came there. I'd taken a lot of classes about this stuff. This is definitively not true. I don't know where you're going with this. Like, I don't understand how this is helpful at all. What's the point of all this? And thankfully, she was pretty, like, we had a good back and forth. She liked my papers because I did real research in them. And she was also a sex positive feminist. Like a lot of this weirdness that you were talking about is from the sex negative feminists. There's a lot of feminists that basically say any type of sexual procreation is rape and societal pressure. It's a litany of reasons as to why they're freaking killjoys about this stuff. And they freaking poo-poo on everything, and they bring everything down. Like those are the type of toxic feminists that really don't further the cause at all. They want societal change, like third wave feminism wanted. Just trying to ignore the sexuality of people is ignoring the truth, and you're never going to get anywhere. Like it's baffling to me. And women want to be looked at as attractive. And in this article they talked about that if you want to be attractive, that there's going to be pain associated with it. And they act like that's just a given. And really, it's not. People's desire to be beautiful is so strong that they are willing to suffer to look beautiful. And that's a personal thing. Like, how far are you willing to go to look aesthetically pleasing? If a man works out a whole lot and gets shredded, that's painful. That hurts. Like, it takes a long time. Everybody's willing to do whatever to look attractive if you really care that much. And when it comes to this hair case right here, it is kind of amazing how much people talked about it, because this is something that I don't give a shit about at all. I've never cared about my hair. I put very little effort into it. And when people would give me criticism about my hair, I would simply respond that hair is a symbol of one's own vanity. All I do is I let my hair grow until it gets long enough where I don't like it, and I just buzz it all off and start over.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. I know that if my hair starts touching my forehead, I'm going to get all that oil on my forehead, and I'm going to get some pimples, and they hurt. They hurt like hell. So when I get to that point, I will shave off my hair, but anything before that is fair game.
Right. Well, that's really all I have to talk about this. You got anything else about the Gorilla Glue saga?
I think it's crazy. This nails my perspective on this sex negative feminism that you were talking about, which is there's a concept of hot girl privilege, and not every woman has hot girl privilege. And rather than do the suffering that you were talking about, they would rather demonize the hot women and try to change beauty standards. That's why you see a 2-ton model dancing around in her underwear. That's why that's an ice cream commercial now, because they're actively trying to change the beauty standards. And it's because they are jealous of real women who are hot. And in most cases, they don't even have to feel pain because a lot of them are born hot. Now, granted, you can take something that's all right and you can doll it up and make it wow. But these women that are on TV and all that stuff and in movies, they were pretty much like born with the genetic code to be hot, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, the luck of the draw. And I didn't think about that, but you're right. Dealing with more haters. Just haters. Like, if someone's got something that you don't have, just be happy that they got it and move on. You know, don't get mad. Right, get money. Yeah.
I can't imagine if I did that philosophy and I hated you, Adam, because you have legs. Like, it's the same thing. Oh, like, oh, that motherfucker Adam is walking around. He's just rubbing it in my face. I bet he plays fetch with a dog all the time, that piece of shit. Like, no, I don't. I don't do that because you would be miserable. And you see it. These women that act that way, none of them are happy.
Yeah. The Karen effect. Man, you're totally
that's
right
all I got to say about it. I really enjoyed this one.
Oh, yeah, this was pretty good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. So, I'm Adam from Houston.
And I'm Crippled Jesus.
All right. I'll catch you all around, man. Have a good one.
Later.